Okay, we are on yet again the next part, and we left off from Herodotus. Let's see here. There is a very ancient god among the Egyptians who is called Heracles, and they assert that from his reign to that of Amasis, 17,000 years have elapsed. They reckoned Heracles among the gods when the number was augmented from 8 to 12. Okay. This is from Diodorus Siculus. They say that from Osiris and Isis to the kingdom of Alexander, who founded the city of Alexandria in Egypt, there elapsed a period of more than 10,000 years, or as some write, little less than 23,000 years. And this is also from Diodorus Siculus. But the priests of Egypt, summing up the time from the reign of the sun to the descent of Alexander upon Asia, calculated to be about 23,000 years. They pretend also in their fabulous legends that the most ancient of the gods remained more than 1,200 years, and those that came immediately after them in succession not less than 300. Some of them attempt to abate the incredibility of such a multitude of years by asserting that in former times, when the revolution of the sun was not accurately ascertained, the year consisted of one revolution of the moon. Okay, so it's saying that like the moon cycles are like something to be considered as like 1 year for them. I don't know. They recorded it as a moon. I guess if you're really trying to explain it in a way that's like possible, meaning that like people don't live more than like 120 years or so. I guess they would have like had it recorded down as like the moon, but I don't know. It depends, because it's been said in the past that like the Earth was really misty, so the only things you could really see in the sky were like the sun. You couldn't really see any of the stars unless you went up to the very like high mountains, which is where some of these like temples would have been built at, is like on the tops of these mountains, just for like I don't know, I guess like time recording. But in any case, yeah, it just depends on whether or not that whole like cloud misty kind of atmosphere was around. Then I don't think. I guess the moon could be bright, but you wouldn't. It's really hard to see the moon when it's cloudy. Kind of covers it sometimes, so I don't know. It's a little tough on that one. I don't really know. But so the next one here is from Josephus. He makes Amenophis king when this event, the second invasion, occurred, giving him a false name, and upon this account he presumes not to define the length of his reign, though in mentioning all the other kings he accurately gives the time of each. Here, however, he invents some fabulous relation, not remembering that he had already stated that the exodus of the shepherds to Jerusalem took place 518 years before, for Thutmosis was king when they went out. Okay, so that's a later king. But they do mention Amenophis ruling. Okay, so it's saying here that Amenophis ruled 518 years after the shepherds of. Okay, so it's saying here that the shepherds of Jerusalem took place 518 years before. Okay, so that lines up with that other chronology I think we saw. So these are talking about the shepherd kings that came in. I guess they're saying they came in from Jerusalem in this book, according to Josephus. And then saying Amenophis was, he was part of the Trojan War, so the Trojan War happened after those shepherd kings. Okay, so they can like start zooming in on stuff. So this is the Chaldaean and Egyptian dynasties from Bar Hebraeus. Also this, okay, so I guess maybe we should get some context. Who is this guy? So I'm gonna ask who is. Oh, I always do that with the clicking. Sorry about that. Here, let me type it over here real quick. Who is Bar Hebraeus? Let's see if it knows who that is. Gregory, the son of the Hebrew, and whose Arabic name was Abu al-Faraj, was the most intellectually significant and versatile figures of the medieval Near East. Okay, so he's a medieval writer. Is this right? Should we look this up? Let me see. Let's see if we can look it up. Am I spelling it right? It looks like it's Hebrews. So I guess it is like that word is like a Hebrew word. So son of the Hebrew, but I guess I'm kind of like spelling it out. What the hell? Let me type that in. Okay, yeah, so this is the same person. Alright, cool, so we got the right context, I guess. Let's see here. Polymath and scholar. He was a prolific writer virtually on every branch of knowledge, from theology, history, grammar, medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. His studies involved harmonizing Greek and Arabic learning. So this guy was a medieval writer, but he was, where was he from? He's Syriac Orthodox and Maphrian of the church. Okay, so living during the turbulent period of the Mongol invasions in the 13th century, he maintained a policy of tolerance, yada yada yada, with some religious work, including those renowned at the Maragha Observatory. His work was crucial in introducing Arabic, scientific, and philosophical culture to the Syriac Christian world. See, this is what I was saying. Where a lot of these ancient texts, I said this a few videos ago, where like a lot of these like ancient documents and more older documents and whatnot were first translated from like the Aramaic languages, right? And then you have the Arabic languages, and then none of the Europeans or early like Greco-Roman, I guess like folks, I don't know, people, scholars of whatnot, they didn't have access to any of that stuff, excuse me, in the like early like Muslim era, when like all this like Arabic stuff started coming in. So it wasn't translated until like the Renaissance era and like the, I guess like later medieval period, which is what we're seeing right here. This person was somebody who connected all those Arabic languages into like the, I guess, Greco-Roman languages, and then further down, probably like later on into French and whatnot. But yeah, this guy's a clear example of connecting those two, of what I've said in previous videos. So He has, it looks like he's trying to line up these older kings. So we have like on here on the left side is the Chaldaean kings, and then on the right side is the Egyptian kings. So these are like supposed to be like obviously separated, but kind of ruling contemporaneously. Is that the right word? In any case, so they start off with Nimrod over here as the first Chaldean king, and then Phanuphis for 68 years, and then they have Cambyses, and then Alphiphanus, and then Smyrus Atanubus Cusia, or the Cusian. They have Saurinus Phrygia, or the Parthian. And then they have Pharun Bersanus. Oh, and then they have like multiple kings kind of right after, like Pharun Karumi, and then Pharun Aphintus. Here on the left side they have Arphazd for 18 years, conquered by Bilus the Assyrian. So then that's like kind of successing after that, and then Pharum Arunkus. Let's see here. I've given the dynasties according to the Syriac orthography and placed them beside each other as they are synchronized in the chronicle. The Syriac says this king succeeded Alphiphanus, for which the translator substitutes Atanufus. I can't relate these kings right now. I honestly, like, this is interesting, but I can't really pull anything from that right now. I don't know why. So they have Bilus. Oh, okay. So all these kings, I guess, are semi-legendary. All these ones are Phasd, conquered by Bilus the Assyrian, right? Because then you have Ninus, and then Smirm, and then Smaris, and then Aris. I think this is supposed to be Belus, right? I'm not really too sure, but it could be like a king named after that. I don't know. But they have Pharon Smunus, Pharon Arminus, Phardus the Theban, Pharon Phanes, Pharon Ischis, Pharon Susunus, Pharon Tarkus, Sadis the shepherd, Aphifus the shepherd, or maybe Aphus the shepherd, Mephrus Tumuthus, Amphanthis, Pharon Sunu, Amphathathi, dang man, these are hard to pronounce. Amanthathis, in this narrative, is also called Pharaoh. The chronicle says that his daughter, Kermuthisa, called Damaris by the Hebrews, the wife of Kanaphra, was the person who saved Moses, drowned in the Red Sea. Oh, that's part of that. But she drowned in the Red Sea. What the heck? Are they? The person who saved Moses. Okay, when it says save Moses, does that mean like they're talking about the story of like where they put him in the little carriage and then put him in the river? You know, I could have sworn that was actually like the same story as Sargon of Akkad. I think there's actually like a glyph or tablet that has that same story. Let me make of you what you will with that. So, the Egyptian fragments from the obelisks and from Manetho, Chaeremon, and Lysimachus, and other writers. Okay, so these are the obelisks, or obelisks. The obelisk of Heliopolis, from Ammianus Marcellinus. This is the south side. Oh, so they just... I mean, it's in Greek, right? I'm like kind of yawning right now. Okay, let's see here. So this looks like it's right in Greek. They like translated it in Greek when they saw this thing, so the stuff is already known, right? So the south side, the interpretation begins upon the southern side. Verse the first. The son to King Ramesses I have bestowed upon you to rule graciously over all the world. He whom the sun loves is Horus the brave, the lover of truth, the son of Haron, born of God, the restorer of the world. He whom the sun has chosen is the king of Ramesses, valiant in battle, to whom all the earth is subject by his might and bravery. Ramesses the king, the immortal offspring of the sun. Verse the second. It is Horus the brave, who is in truth appointed the lord of the diadem, who renders Egypt glorious and possesses it, sheds his splendor over Heliopolis and regenerates the rest of the world, and honors the gods that dwell in Heliopolis. Him the sun loves. Verse the third. Horus the brave, the offspring of the sun, all glorious, whom the sun has chosen, and the valiant Ares has endowed. His goodness remains forever, whom Ammon loves, that fills the temple of the Phoenix. To him the gods have granted life. Horus the brave, the son of Haron Ramesses, the king of the world, has protected Egypt and subdued her neighbors. Him the sun loves. The gods have granted him great length of life. He is Ramesses, the lord of the world, the immortal. Okay, so it says another side. It doesn't indicate which side. Verse the second. I, the Son, the great God, the sovereign of heaven, have bestowed upon you life without satiety. Horus, the brave lord of the diadem, incomparable, the sovereign of Egypt, that has placed the statues of the gods in his palace and has beautified Heliopolis, in like manner as he has honored the Son himself, sovereign of heaven. The offspring of the Son, the King immortal, has performed a goodly work. Verse the third. I, the Son, the God and Lord of heaven, have bestowed strength and power over all things on King Ramesses, he whom Horus, the lover of truth, the Lord of the seasons, and Hephaestus, the father of the gods, have chosen on account of his valor, is all gracious king, the offspring and beloved of the Son. Jeez, it sounds like some Freemason book, to be honest. Okay, so it says, toward the east, verse the first. The great God whom Heliopolis celestial, Horus the brave, the son of Haron, whom the sun begot, and whom the gods have honored, he is the ruler of all the earth. He whom the sun hath chosen is the king valiant in battle. Him Ammon loves, and him the all-glittering has chosen his eternal king. I don't know if I want to make a connection towards Japanese culture, but if you look at some of the way that they claim descendancy from Amaterasu, which is a sun god, which there's this video on YouTube that you can look up. It's World War II propaganda, and it kind of goes over the origin of the Japanese people themselves. I mean, I don't know how credible it could actually be, being that it was propaganda, but this is, they explain how all the descendants and that Hirohito during World War II were descendants of the sun god Amaterasu, or maybe it was the sun goddess. But in any case, When the Japanese, when they would become shogun, and all these samurai and daimyo like would go to battle with each other, they had to be of like a particular bloodline. There was like three bloodlines that you had to be like descended from in order to actually like be a daimyo. But what's interesting is that like they wanted to like essentially like having like a legacy in the I think it's like the old Osaka, either Osaka or like Kyoto temple, where that's where like the royal bloodline is. I don't know where the royal bloodline's at, but it's like they want to like leave a legacy with the royal bloodline, the shogun, the daimyo that like succeeds everybody or like conquers everyone, I guess. So um that like looking at that, and then looking at how like they all like kind of like worship like a sun god, and then like kind of have like being valiant in battle, like all this type of like motive is like kind of like reminiscent of all that, just from like reading that. This is just my 2 cents from it. So of the Syriatic columns, I've never seen these actually. Let me see if I can search this up real quick actually. I'm actually kind of curious here. Syriatic columns. And these are supposed to be like obelisks of this sort, I guess, right? Let me see. Let me pull this up real quick. Are they supposed to be like this, and there's like engravings on one of them, or what? The Pillars of Seth. Okay, so maybe this is what it's referring to. But yeah, see, it's from Josephus. Okay, we're reading the same exact thing. All these, the sons of Seth, being naturally of a good disposition, lived happily in the land without apostatizing, and free from any evils whatsoever. And they studiously turned their attention to the knowledge of the heavenly bodies and their configurations, and lest their science should stay at any time be lost among men, and what they had previously acquired should perish, inasmuch as Adam had acquainted them that of a universal aphanism, or destruction of all things, would take place alternately by the force of fire and the overwhelming powers of water. They erected 2 columns, one of brick and the other of stone, and graved upon each of them their discoveries, so that in case the brick pillar should be dissolved by the waters, the stone one might survive to teach men the things engraved upon it, and at the same time inform them that a brick once one had formerly been also erected by them. It remains even to the present day in the land of Syria. They said this thousands of years ago. Dude, this, every time I read this freaking book, it blows me away. Like, this is so peculiar, so that in case the brick pillar should be dissolved by the waters, the stone one might survive to teach men the things engraved upon it, and at the same time inform them that a brick one had formerly also been erected by them. So it's saying that like they were not only doing these megalithic ones, but all the clay brick ones they did too. No way. So that means that's no way. That must mean that like those Spanish pueblos and like those places in Arizona that have those like pueblos in like the San Juan Valley, that means those things are subject to like some of the same things that people who did the megaliths. It's saying that same thing. And that also makes sense too, because if you look at like Mexico City, and well specifically like Teotihuacan, and you see that like one of the pyramids has like it's a little bit broken off. And what I mean by broken off is that there's a volcanic ash, or like volcanic ash stone, and then like there's like a mortar, that's like covered all over the pyramid. Somebody like took the time to like completely cover these mounds with volcanic stone, rocks, and mortar. Like it's mortar. You can see it. But see the layer that's below that, because the whole entire pyramid is not completely jumbled up of just volcanic rock and limestone. The inner layers are brick. This book is saying that, and this was said like at least like 1600 years ago. Informed them that a brick one had been formerly also erected by them. Huh. Just it really, like, if you really pay attention to what these people were saying, like, and if you put it together, like, it makes a lot of sense what's going on. So that means any of these stone, even though they're not megalithic, the stone brick ones there, they could have also built too. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, if you look at New York City, they have like pretty strong like granite buildings, right? Or like big stone buildings, but they also use the bricks as well and mortar. Huh. That's so peculiar. Anyways, so these are Manetho and of the writings of Manetho. It remains therefore to make certain extracts concerning the dynasties of the Egyptians from the writings of Manetho the Sevenite, the high priest of the idolatrous temples of in Egypt, in the time of Ptolemaeus Philadelphus. These, according to his own account, he copied from the inscriptions which were engraved in the sacred dialect and hieroglyphic characters upon the columns set up in the Saraidic land by Thoth, the first Hermes, and after the deluge, translated from the sacred dialect into the Greek tongue in hieroglyphic characters. Hold on, let me like pull back real quick. By Thoth, the first Hermes, not the third Hermes though. It says here the first Hermes, and after the deluge, translated the sacred dialect into the Greek tongue, and hieroglyphic characters, and committed to writing in books and deposited by Agathodamon, the son of the second Hermes, the father of Tat, in the penetralia of the temples of Egypt. He addressed and explained them that Philadelphus, the second king that bore the name of Ptolemaeus, in the book which he entitled Sothis, they are as follows: the Epistle of Manetho the Sevenite to Ptolemaeus Philadelphus, to the great and august king Ptolemaeus Philadelphus, Manetho the high priest and scribe of the sacred Idida in Egypt, being by birth a Sevenite and a citizen of Heliopolis, to his sovereign Ptolemaeus, humbly greeting. It is right for us, most mighty king, to pay due attention to all things which it is your pleasure we should take into consideration. In answer, therefore, to your inquiries concerning the things which shall come to pass in the world, I shall, according to your commands, lay before you what I have gathered from the sacred books written by Hermes Trismegistus, our forefather. Farewell, my prince and sovereign. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to zoom through that, but I mean, whenever they're talking about this stuff, it makes me curious about like what they have to say about like the Scythic kingdoms, the Eastern Asiatic kingdoms, the Polynesian kingdoms, like what was going on during those times. I'm so curious to really know that's kind of like the next book I've been looking for. I've been spending like a lot of time like looking for a book that can explain some of like what was going on in these other lands, because like here we're reading like clearly what's going on all in the Mediterranean. I mean, this is all like Mediterranean lore. This is probably like the most raw information you can possibly get about Mediterranean. But like what like, you know, if you're looking at things like canonically and you look at how do I put it? If you look at like what was going on outside of the world of the Mediterranean, which was so recorded, like China has their good own recordings and they have their good traditions as well, and I do know some of it, and I mean whatever reason it's not in this book, but I mean it just I just don't know if like what I'm looking for is gonna be in English. So like I almost gotta like start looking for books in like French, and I feel like French because the like 1800s you had a lot of like French Indochina, and you had this like kind of like whole like French Empire that was going on in the like Eastern Asian areas. So they got to this stuff first before like any of these English writers were writing stuff in the 1800s. I mean they wrote it, but see what they weren't even writing any of this like Eastern Asian stuff, and I feel like I gotta find some documents that are like in French and then get them like completely maybe like translated. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do like YouTube videos trying to transcribe those, because that takes a very long time. Trying to read and understand these books already takes a very long time to get through, especially if you're like working full time, you know what I mean, like trying to maintain like a work life social balance, you know what I mean, trying to do research all excuse me, into this stuff is quite a monumental task. But to know where like the information at least could possibly come from is worth a lot, and I feel like I could do it maybe with the AI doing the translations, because that's what I've been kind of training it to do with some of these Akkadian and Old Babylonian like kind of texts, and I have my information well about that. But it's not just about these like Mediterranean cultures, and this information is good and all, but there's so much more that I know that was like recorded by somebody. I mean, just look at the Popol Vuh. That book was found sitting in a library, and somebody decided to pick it up and read it, and like was like, hey, you know about this? And they're like, no, we don't know about it. Like the librarians there were like, no, we don't know about this book actually. It's just, you know, we just got these books from like the militaries and stuff like that when Spanish conquered and all that. So these books are just sitting in the libraries, but they haven't been looked at necessarily, or like the information hasn't been like put together. But like I don't know. There's kind of like a limiting, or like a kind of like a rail track that's being set on like the academic field that kind of like doesn't look into all this stuff. And I feel like some of this stuff and some of these texts might be really important, because that's how we get stuff like the Popol Vuh. Like it's authentic. It has authentic like information about like, you know, Mesoamerican history. It's just some of it's legendary, but there's factual information on there. And then they even mention like the Toltecs and all those people that were ruling in those lands and who had access to what, and you know, it's just really important to look at. But in the next video, aside from all that, we'll get started over here. I just wanted to end the video kind of explaining away about, you know, how much there still needs to be looked at. So we'll continue like we said